Welcome to Betting Weekly Premier League Show. You're with Dan Roebuck alongside me, Nigel Seeley and Jack Wright. Now, before the international break, Nigel, you were in New York. Where are you now? Depress us all.
I'm in the sunny island of Crete in Greece. I'm looking out to the left of me. I can see the beach. Beautiful. Lots of people.
Where did it all go wrong, Nigel?
I asked myself the same question. Listen. There's no tennis this week, so it's the first week of the only week of the year where there's no ATP tennis, and there's no Premiership. Obviously coming back this weekend, so I thought I'd take a little week off and come to Crete. Beautiful place. If you ever get a chance to come, it's lovely. About 82 degrees, which is about 28 degrees. A little bit of wind, nice breeze. Sea there. Anyway, hurry up because I just won the French bowls competition against some French 14-year-old, and I've got the table tennis final in an hour, so we got to hurry up quick.
I don't know about you, Jack. I had my big coat on yesterday. I've not been outside yet, so I don't know how cold it is, but it's autumn has arrived in London, hasn't it?
Well, I wear my coat and I'm indoors. That says it all, really, to be fair, doesn't it?
It does a bit. Now then, profitable trends for the Premier League so far this season. If you played over 1.5 goals in every single game, you cashed 27 times out of 30. And you're in profit. Under 3.5 goals, you're showing a return on investment of 23.33%. Under 2.5 goals, level stakes profit of 893. If you followed Nigel Seeley, 2-unit plays, 3 from 3, 100% strike rate, 78% return on investment. And if you followed Jack Wright with his 1-unit plays, 110.33 return on investment. The show is in profit. Well done, everybody. Well done, Nigel. Well done, Jack.
Hence the reason why I'm in a 5-star hotel on the Aegean coast, soaking up the race. Give it a week. I'll be back with you lot.
Listen, no 0-0s in the first 30 matches here. Nigel, you were talking about 0-0 detectives with the international break. We haven't had one in the Premier League. What do you think the spread is for the amount of 0-0s? 380 games. We've not had any so far. What's the spread for number of 0-0s?
29 to 31. Over and under 30.5.
The spread is 15 to 17 at the minute.
Really?
Yeah, that's. They just do not expect 0-0s at all.
Seems
it's one of
very,
those
very
odd
low,
ones.
doesn't
it? Jack, obviously off the back of the international break, but into Champions League fixtures, how mindful were you ahead of sorting your picks out yesterday that we've got Champions League football returning?
The fact that it took me into the early hours of this morning to finalise them would say that it was a bit of a minefield. I think the international break is the key one. The injuries possibly being picked up there, some obviously more high profile than others. But the travelling, these sides generally have got most of their squads at all 4 corners of the globe. So that does play a part in it. I think we'll see that as a bit of a theme throughout the picks as we go through all the games. Of course, the big games, the Champions League games.
Now then, if you are tailing us, let us know. Take a screenshot of what you're betting this weekend. Post it on X. Give us your thoughts on our picks in the comments on our YouTube channel, and subscribe if you haven't already. It is, of course, free to subscribe. We're going to kick off with the early game on Saturday. We haven't got a play in this from either of our cappers, but it is the 7:30 Eastern Saturday kickoff. It is Southampton against Manchester United, where Saints are plus 340, United are minus 136, minus money Nigel away from home. Eric Ten Hag in trouble off the back of that limp display against Liverpool last time out. He's now the favourite to be the next manager to go up plus 250 with Bet Rivers. If United lose, do you think he's out?
Yes, I do. I think he's out. I think Gareth Southgate has been bet to become the next Manchester United manager. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, whether it's an upgrade, I don't know. But I do think he's under pressure. I wanted to oppose Manchester United in this fixture because obviously the international break, the early kickoff is always sort of the curse of the early kickoff after the international break. But then when I broke it down, I looked at their opponents and I just couldn't make any case whatsoever to oppose Manchester United. I think Southampton are probably on what we've seen so far at the start of the season, probably the worst team in the Premier League, I would say, given their data, given that the fact that he couldn't really put a glove on a 10-man Newcastle on the opening day of the season. 3 matches, 3 losses, just 1 goal. Very disappointing in their first home match against Nottingham Forest. I can see every reason why people might want to fade Manchester United given the circumstances of Ten Hag, but he seems to be using that get-out-of-jail card throughout the whole of last season and throughout the start of this season. He won the FA Cup at the end of the season that kept him in a job. He seems to get the result when he needs one. Would I bet them at minus money against Southampton? Certainly not, because of the international break, because of the fact that Manchester United aren't particularly a very good side. But against any other team in this fixture in the Premier League, I would look to oppose Manchester United, but I just can't this Southampton side of what I've seen in these 3 matches. I was looking at the match, trying to find it from a betting angle. Every sort of avenue where I oppose Manchester United, I found more questions. Why should I trust Southampton? And I couldn't really trust them. So it come back to me. I just thought that the goals look very cheap here, very high. I don't see any reason why Southampton suddenly should be scoring goals. Only 1 goal, like I said, in the 3 matches they played. Manchester United were very, very low scoring last season, one of the lowest scoring teams in the top half of the table. I just thought under 3 goals, with 3 goals a lean at -129 was my way of playing on this game. I couldn't make a case for either side, so I thought what I'd do is I'd just have a little small bit of interest on the under 3 goals if I was looking for a bet. But this is the cursed fixture. After the international break, the opening match, you bet the favourite. You usually done your money by the kick-off time in the traditional 3 o'clock lunchtime matches. So, on an outright perspective or on the money line, not for me, but a small lean on under 3 goals at -129.
Similar theme for you, Jack, in a way, with your lean, just a lean as well on this one.
Yeah, similar bet, same reasoning really. Both teams to score no was my lean. It's because it's plus money, plus 118 on this one. And yeah, for all those reasons, Southampton remind me so much of Burnley from last season. They try and play out from the back. They're not good enough to do that. They're blunt in attack. They've got no creativity. They haven't got a goal scorer at this level. Man United, they're just not able to finish their chances. They are creating them, but that's not really going to be changing too much. And as we said, they've come back from all parts of the globe for an early kickoff in the UK. And that, to me, seems like a real slow burning kind of match, a slow start. I wouldn't even be put off going for like a 0-0 at half time in this one. That's quite decent money. But yeah, I've gone both teams to score no. Reminds me a lot of when United went to Fulham last season, and I think it was 0-0, and then Bruno Fernandes scored with pretty much the last kick of the game there. So yeah, both teams to score no is my lean.
Yeah, 12:30 kickoff tends to look at unders. That's what we're thinking when it comes to that Southampton-Manchester United game, but leans only on the first game. Tread with caution, as Nigel and Jack were pointing out. What we have got is 3 units wagered on the Liverpool-Nottingham Forest game. We've got Jack's 2-unit play and Nigel's 1-unit play here. So we're going to kick off with the banker bet, if you like. This is 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 o'clock local. Liverpool against Nottingham Forest. Liverpool really short price favourites at -500, with Nottingham Forest 12-1. People are looking at the way Liverpool play, Jack, and are thinking, well, Arne Slot has picked up where Jurgen Klopp has left off. They are free scoring. They are good to watch. They could give Nottingham Forest a hammering, couldn't they? What's your thought? What's the angle in here?
Well, they absolutely could, but I've taken them not to quite do that. In fact, I changed this at the last minute. From my bets actually was going to be exactly what Nigel's going to tell us in a moment on his, but I kind of watered mine down a little bit. I've gone for under 3.5 goals as my best bet of the weekend, and I'll be brutally honest, I found it tough finding a 2-unit play this week. There's quite a lot that I liked in the card, but as far as finding the right kind of price to put that money in, that was where my kind of problems lie. But I've gone with under 3.5 goals in this one. I think that Forest are a side that's just going to struggle to score. We've talked about Nuno and his approach to the game already quite often in the first 3 games of the season. They're not free scoring at all. And I think as far as Liverpool are concerned, under Arne Slot, they've become a little bit more of a controlled version of that Jurgen Klopp side. Yes, they're still good and dynamic going forward, but they can control games a lot better. And again, we're going to be a repeated theme this international break. You look at the key players for Liverpool in forward areas and where they've been over the last couple of weeks. You've got Diaz, who was in South America, playing for Colombia as late as like Tuesday night. You've also got Mo Salah, who was away on African Cup of Nations qualifying duty with Egypt in far-flung corners of Africa. So it's going to be a tough one. It's an afternoon kickoff in the UK, so it's not loads of prep time. And I think that might just halt this being such a goal frenzy. And certainly Nuno's going to go there with Forest and look to try and nullify Liverpool. And I think Liverpool have got that more control in the middle of the park, with Gravenberch, Szoboszlai as well. And defensively look very, very sound, that they can kind of thwart that and be wary of Forest on the counter-attack and nullify them. So I can't say with this is mainly about Liverpool doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and if you're playing the 3.5 goals line, and I think that they will win this, but not absolutely run riot with it, as was the case in both wins to nil last season.
Professional display, we are suggesting, from Liverpool. Slots last season at Feyenoord, incident, if you played under 3.5, it was a significant loss. But in his title winnings season, the season before, 22-23, if you played under 3.5 in all his games, it was a profitable play. Forest have scored in each of the last 6, Nigel, stretching back to late last season. But obviously Anfield is a little bit different, and Jack has alluded to your play here. You've got to get a little bit creative with it, but this is your one-unit pick.
Yeah, I mean they might have scored, but they've since they've been promoted and played Liverpool in the Premier League, they've failed to score in 3 of the 4 matches against Liverpool. Liverpool at Anfield, as we know, they're just very, very hard to beat. 43 goals conceded in the last 3 seasons, which is the best record against anybody at home in the last 3 seasons at Anfield, which is phenomenal, really, when you consider that. They're virtually unbeatable at Anfield. The bet I was going to do here, and I spoke to you last night about it, Dan, I wasn't going to mention it, but I thought I might mention it. I wanted to bet Liverpool to win to nil, so I went onto the Bet Rivers website and placed the same game parlay, which is like alien to me to press those buttons, but I pressed the same game parlay, thinking I was doing the wrong thing. And it come up with a Liverpool to win on the money line and Nottingham Forest under a half a goal. And the price came back at -110. So I thought, well, that's not bad. But then I looked at Forest under half a goal on its own. It was -104. So I thought we got the 0-0 thrown in as well. So I couldn't understand why that was. And that's a lot better value. So what I've gone here, I've gone for Forest under half a goal. So basically, Nottingham Forest not to score. All 4 Forest matches this season have gone under 2.5 goals. I know they've scored in a almost all. I think all of them have. But at Anfield, it's going to be very, very hard for them to do it. Liverpool look well drilled under Slot. You know, they're not expansive. They don't have that high energy of Klopp. You know, the energy from the manager comes across at Anfield. But they're not like that. But they're very patient. They look a very patient side, and I think they look it sounds crazy to say this, but they look probably a more organised team under Klopp, when you consider that Klopp was just a legend and how well he done there. But they look pretty good, actually. And at the rebase of the start of the Premier League season, there's a big move on them to win the Premier League. You know, they've been the biggest movers in what we've seen so far. 3 wins, all professional, 7 goals scored, none conceded. And the other thing you got to remember here is on Tuesday night they travelled to Milan to start on the new Vamp Champions League. Now, we talk about international break. That is just as important to me that they played to Milan. So I love the way of the Jack's angle there with the 3.5, because I can see Liverpool being 2-0 up in this match and then just taking all those players off that have played the international break, take it easy, get through the last 20 minutes without any injuries and head to Milan in confident move. 4 wins, 4 matches, 4 wins, no goals conceded, and try to get maximum points in Milan as well. So I think that's got to go into bettors' minds as well this weekend. Not only the international break, but the fact that we've got Champions League matches as well in midweek. So I'm going to go for Liverpool here to win. I think they will win, but the best bet, and on the Bet Rivers app, it's a much better play than betting Liverpool to win to nil. Nottingham Forest not to score, under half a goal, -104. Like I say, 4 matches since they've been promoted to the Premier League. 3 of them against Liverpool, they failed to score. And this new look, defensively strong Liverpool side, I think will contain a powder puff, Nottingham Forest attack, and I don't see Forest scoring.
Just picking up on what Nigel was saying there, Jack, plus 450 Liverpool for the title. Are we having a bit of that, or have we missed the price?
Yeah, I think the price possibly, we might well have missed it a bit, but I can see why they've been trimmed for certain, because they have been very impressive. As I say, I think everyone was wondering, we saw with Ferguson at United, with Wenger at Arsenal, following in the footsteps there is normally a real nightmare, but he's absolutely taken it on board. All right, we're only 3 games in, tiny sample size, but I think everyone's been impressed with how he's kind of kept a similar theme, but just as we've said, more control, and they would look to close out games now rather than go and win it 5-3. They're happy with a 2-0, 3-0.
He's slotted right in, isn't he?
Let's move on. Manchester City versus Brentford next. Now, the boys have got plays in this as well, but there is a little bit of a difference of opinion here. It's not quite winner takes all, Jeffrey. Do you remember winner takes all, Nigel?
Jimmy Tarbuck? Of course I do.
Fantastic. Do you know in the late 80s when he came back for a second or even a third series,
This is being lost on our viewers from Wisconsin.
Do you know what I did? Do you know what I did as well? I Googled what was the USA equivalent of winner takes all, and there wasn't one. Right. And we wonder why with Jimmy Tarbuck. Anyway,
you'll be doing Ted Rogers and 3-2-1 in a minute.
They dropped even money because they thought it was too complicated. Anyway, let's move on. City versus Brentford here. Now we've got Nigel's hot dog. Now this is the way I think you should play the hot dog, because you're combining a couple of correct scores here, Nigel. It's an interesting take on this because you've actually bet successfully against this type of angle this season. So you're going to have to explain why you're going the way you are. City Brentford, City short price favourites, the hot dog from your good self.
Yeah, my hot dog this week is betting Manchester City to win 1-0 and 2-0. Man City to win 1-0, I think, is 6-1. I haven't got the odds in front of me, Dan. I think I sent it.
Yeah, 2-0, 6-1, 1-0, 10-1.
Yeah, so that combined is what, plus 430? Yeah, so plus 430. I'm going to go for 1-0 and 2-0. And the reason why I'm going to go for this is because since Brentford have come back to the Premier League, or been in the Premier League, Man City have never covered a 2-goal handicap against Brentford. They've been a bogey side for them. They've struggled with them. Thomas Frank is a very organised manager. You know, he doesn't really get beaten. We saw when they went to Liverpool early in the week, they didn't really offer much an attacking threat earlier in the season, but they lost 2-0. And again, Man City have been rampant. But all the players coming back from Europe, Haaland obviously on back-to-back hat-tricks, come back from Europe, and then they've got a big match on Wednesday at home against Inter Milan, which is a big match for them. You know, there's this new revamped Champions League has thrown up a lot of non-events, but that's a big game. It's a repeat of the Champions League final from a couple of seasons ago when Inter Milan would have counted themselves a little bit unlucky, and Inter Milan have been in great form. So that's a huge match. So again, it goes back to that thing. Go get the 2 goals up, don't have any injuries, and rest some players. We look at the 6 matches in the Premier League that Brentford have played against Manchester City. 2 1-0 wins for City, a 1-2-0 win out of the 6 matches. Never covered the 2-goal handicap. And the reason why I'm sort of going against with Jack, I know Jack's bet, so of course I saw it on the running order, but I don't want to tell his bet. But the reason why I think this is that I think that Brentford don't look like they've lost Tony. Ivan Toney was their main goal threat in matches when teams in and around them. But when they go up against the big boys, like the Liverpools, the Manchester Cities, the Arsenals, he's going to be a huge loss for them. I can't see him lose. You know, other teams at Fulham and the likes of Leicester, I don't think Tony will be a huge blow. But in these matches, you need big players. And I think without him, I don't think they're going to score. And I also think that Thomas Frank, although they won there a couple of seasons ago, Brentford won this fixture a couple of seasons ago, one of the biggest shocks in the Premier League. I think he knows that realistically, you know, let's keep it tight. Let's try to frustrate Manchester City. And it's a tactic that's done very, very well since they returned to the Premier League. So with the European match against Inter Milan coming up, the same reasoning really for the match against Liverpool. I would expect them to go 2-0 up around about the 70th minute. Haaland come off, De Bruyne come off if he's even starting, Foden get rested, and give some of the fringe players an opportunity, because they're not going to pen that back and settle for a 1 or 2-0 win against a team that has given them all kinds of problems. So my hot dog is Man City 1-0, 2-0 combined at plus 430.
Yeah, Ivan Toney scored those 2 goals when Brentford won at City, so you're spot on. Now then, the counter to that, Jack, is the fact that City don't keep too many clean sheets. I mean, Nigel, you've been on the right side of both teams to score, yes, when City have played this season, not for you this week, but part of your bet for your 1-unit play, and we have to say again that Jack has got a 100% record with his 1U play so far this season, so you're going to have to give the opposing view here. Jack?
Yeah, I've gone with that bet of Manchester City to win and both teams to score. That is a actual function on the Bet Rivers website now, so you can just do a 1-click on that one listed down there, and it does give you a little bit of, again, better price clicking that than doing a same game parlay of the same nature. So the price differential here is massive, and I thought it just offered a little bit of value. Effectively, if you're thinking Man City are going to justify the odds that they are, which is incredibly long ones, then you are looking at a Brentford goal here, and it boosts that play to plus 143. So that warranted me putting my 1 unit on that one. And you've already nailed it. They've basically been conceding quite a few goals. Only 1 home game so far this season against Ipswich, which we'll expect to be down the bottom of the table somewhere. They scored very early in that game. Admittedly, their only shot of the game. But that ended 4-1, of course. And you look at the last few scores, they've been incredible, really. Obviously, going into the back end of last season in the league, City have won 4-1, 3-1, 5-1, 5-1, 4-1, and 3-1. And the only blip in there of spoiling that complete run was against Arsenal, which I think is a completely different game, certainly at that point of time as well, compared to what we're looking at here. So I don't think that you can disrespect any of the Wiss brothers when they're playing out front, and we'll see Johan Wisser up front in this particular game. And I think him and Mbeumo will actually cause City a few problems because, as we said, I pinpointed it last time out with West Ham. Rico Lewis is very, very advanced in that right-back position, and they will have the opportunities to try and spring and get down that left-hand side. And I think Brentford are a very well-organised and good counter-attacking side, and we've seen some kind of masterclasses from Thomas Frank, even on like say on Sky TV here, showing how he goes and approaches these kind of games and really goes into how to try and exploit a weakness. And I think City have got a little bit of weakness in that area at the moment, and they have been conceding goals. I would expect them to win it, but as I said, with the lack of prep time that they would normally have, and with another game coming up in midweek, I think there is that element that we could see a Brentford at least get on the score sheet, albeit as probably a consolation.
I think it's the first time we've seen you two disagree so far this season. Let's hope that one of you gets it right. Nigel's gone for 1-0, 2-0 for the hot dog. Jack has gone for City win both teams to score yes and make a good case for us. We'll leave it to the jury to decide. Let's wrap up the other 3 p.m.
What were you going to go with, Dan? What would you go with? You get to have a bet. What would you
This
go
is
with?
crucial.
Do you know, it's so rare that Nigel asked me to have actual play on this
Well,
show.
I'm begging. I'm hoping that you go with Jack. I'm praying that you go with Jack.
I'm dumbfounded.
I'm absolutely desperate for you to say, yeah, I'll go with Jack.
I think I keep it simple. I go both teams to score yes. I'm not even sure that City are going to win.
What's a result? What's a result? City. That is now my 2-unit pick.
Your pick is
play, the hot dog and the 1 unit's the lot on it.
Your pick has now got into plus 300, Nigel, on the back of the fact that Dan figures both teams to score.
Oh dear! Saturday round. Do you know I get bullied on this show, ladies and gentlemen. 3 p.m. roundups. Let's get some quick fires on these. We've got a few leans from the boys here. Nigel, first up, Brighton against Ipswich. Brighton, big minus money favourites. Any thoughts here, quickly?
A big Shrewdy messaged me the other day, and literally 10 days ago.
Did I?
No. I said a big Shrewdy. He said to me, "Would I be interested in taking a bet on Ipswich to stay in the Premier League? You wanted to bet Ipswich to stay in the Premier League?" And I said, "Yeah, go on in." So I took a little bet of even money them stay in the Premier League. So I respect the guy's opinion, but I just thought, well, I need some money to go on holiday, so I thought I'd take it. But the thing is here with Ipswich, obviously, Brighton are extremely low price, -$3. I mean, I know they've been exceptional this season so far. Very fortunate against Arsenal, but they've been brilliant. The manager's been a revelation. The youngest manager in the Premier League, been superb. Everyone's been really surprised about how well they've done. But it looks a potential banana skin to me at -$3. I think it looks a price that, okay, yeah, every bit of data would say they're going to win it, but you're taking a very, very, very low price. So I've gone for under 3 goals, -112 as a push in this match. I think if you're going to bet Brighton, okay, well done. But I think on Saturday evening, you might look in the mirror and think, I cannot believe I bet them at -$3.
It's a weird one, isn't it, Brighton? Because when Arsenal went down to 10 players in that controversial game at Emirates, Brighton are like they're the best side really when they 11 versus 10 because they play the ball around so well. We saw that against Everton, who got a man sent off as well, opening game of the season. But this is different against Ipswich, and I think that you've got to somehow found a way to, as you say, play against Brighton somehow. Now, I guess Jack, you've done that to a certain extent here.
Yeah, it couldn't be taken Brighton at the price on the money line, certainly. I do think Ipswich will score. They've got some really good attacking players. Delap is up front at the moment, leading the line for them. Amari Hutchinson's a good pickup out on the wide areas. And Smodic's top goal scorer in the second tier and scored that goal at Manchester City we talked about earlier. So I think they will cause Brighton a few problems and get on the score sheet. But I do think Brighton will win it. And therefore, I'll put them together. Again, same kind of bet as the last time. Brighton win, both teams to score, and that boosts it to plus 190. And I think that looks such a more palatable price. So that'd be where my lean is in this one.
What about Palace Leicester, Jack? What's your lean in this one?
I think it's a tie. I kind of wanted to side with Palace. I like fading Leicester, but I can't quite get on board with Palace at the moment. I think there's a few little issues with them. Yeah, they've kept Eze, which is great, Defensively, I'm just a little bit put off by them. But I think this could be a real tight and turgid one initially, certainly. So I've gone with a half-time tie at plus 143. So I think this might be a bit of a slow burner.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where you think Nigel Palace have got to get something from it because they've started pretty poorly.
Yeah, the natives are getting restless down at Selhurst Park, I can assure you that. Not with the manager, they love the manager, but with the board. Shedding all their best players, Eze stayed, and even the Parish, the owner, turned around and said that he was surprised that no one come in for Eze, as though he wants someone to come in for Eze. Yeah. I think they've got to get something quickly, or they're going to have a big problem at Palace. We saw last season when the crowd went on the back of Roy Hodgson, they weren't happy. Glasner come in, changed it around, but they're sending too many not good players, world-class players at Crystal Palace, and I fear for them. Leicester aren't very good as far as I'm concerned. I don't think they're a great team in the Premier League. They have got goals in them, though. They've scored in every single game in the Premier League. I slightly disagree with Jack Key. I think there's goals. I'd probably go for both teams to score yes at minus 132. They may come in late in the second half. If you don't like that, Eze is the star man there. He's playing a more advanced position, and it's to score any time at plus 170. He'll be on free kicks. He'll be playing, he's involved in everything there. And Nketiah as well probably makes his debut, which will give them a little bit more of an attacking flair as well. But I think Eze's still the main man. Well, he is the main man there. And plus 170, if you don't want to take the both teams to score yes, Eze plus 170 score at any time would be a bet for me.
Nigel, what about Fulham, West Ham? Fulham favourites here, plus 145, West Ham plus 185. Not quite sure I'd frame it that way.
Two teams I like this season. As you know, this season I've sort of gone for both of these two teams to break into the top half. I think both of them have had steady starts without really showing their full potential just yet. Blending in a lot of new players, in particular West Ham. On paper, this looks a match that you just think, well, it's got to be goals. It just looks like one of them matches you think, oh, there's goals in this match. I'm not quite sure. Fulham did the double last season against West Ham, famously won this fixture 5-0, battered them, and they won 2-0 at the Olympic Stadium, the London Stadium. Difficult match to call this one, so I think I'm going to sit on the fence and go for a draw at plus 245.
Nigel, Jack, you like West Ham? I tend to think West Ham could be the play for me as well. Talk us through why you like West Ham on the lean, on the money line.
Yeah, I thought they offered a little bit of value, plus 185. Again, similar sort of thinking, really. I like both these sides. I think these are the two sides are going to go battling out to finish in that kind of 8th, 9th, 10th position. And I just think I liked a little bit more of what I've seen in West Ham at the start of the season than Fulham. They've been pretty decent. And the away game that they put in where they went to Palace and won 2-0 was a bit of a Lopetegui kind of template there. And I think they've got a lot going forward, West Ham. And I think they might well just nick this. But it's a tough one to call. I just felt there's a little bit of juice in that price for them away from home.
Yeah, the price is like West Ham at Selhurst Park. Now then, Nigel has been successful with every single one of his 2-unit plays so far this season. 3 from 3, 78% return on investment, 100% strike rate, obviously. Villa Everton is the focus of Nigel's 2-unit play. Nigel, are you feeling the pressure going 4 from 4?
No, I thrive on it, Dan. I thrive on the pressure. As you will see when I'm beating them Danish kids in the table tennis final in about half an hour time. I thrive on pressure. They're only 6 and 7, by the way, those Danish kids. It's not like they're 23. I've had a 100% record on this bet, and it's usually the one that I would probably bet like my bet of the week. Sometimes when we give 3 bets on these shows, I would probably have more money on the one. So I quite like the idea of having this 2-unit play. I agree with Jack. This week I found it very hard to find a real strong 2-unit play. There was so many question marks about teams coming into the match and obviously teams coming out of the match, what they've got to in midweek. But I think this Everton fade is a good continue. I think we've got to continue with this fade at the moment because 2-0 up with 5 minutes to go last time out against Bournemouth. I was in New York watching that match and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I think that's going to be shell shock from the Everton players, the fans, and the start they've had has been absolutely abysmal. Conceded 10 goals in 3 matches. I mean, it's shocking. Aston Villa, we know last season and the season before, were exceptional at Villa Park. Really, really good at Villa Park. Not so good on the road, but exceptionally good at Villa Park. And I think the price here is, I think everyone's thinking to themselves, well, Villa have got a Champions League match to play, and it might not be a right time to take them on. The fact is they play young boys in the Champions League gives me an incentive to think, they are going to take this seriously. If they were playing Barcelona...
Could be a young boys double, obviously, if you win against the Denmark young boys.
Listen, I've said one of the red... I haven't got my red card. Any young boys gags, it's a sending off offence straight away. So I'll be on the... I am in Greece, and I am in contact with Harry Symeou. So I'll be having a word with him. But anyway, the thing is here... without you throwing me on your young boys gag, and it wasn't a very good young boys gag, by the way. It was a lot better one, but it's before the watershed. I think that they're a fade. I think Villa here, they're playing the young boys. It's not like it's a Real Madrid or a big Champions League match that players' heads will be thinking ahead. I think they're going professionally. Emery obviously knows what he's doing in these kind of big matches. And Everton have a terrible record in this fixture. In the last 7 seasons, they've lost 6 of this match. Villa just win it pretty much regularly. They beat Everton last year 4-0. Villa, a lot of their players obviously have been involved in international fixtures, but a lot of them, the star men, didn't even get a run out. So Watkins is fresh. He didn't play in the 2 matches. So there's a lot of key players who didn't participate. So I got a feeling this trend to fade Everton is going at the moment, because I just think they're just running out a bit of luck. And when the side just feels unlucky and feels worried that things aren't going their way, that will continue. And Aston Villa, I believe, on their data and on their stats so far, haven't got the results they should suggest. I mean, they've been creating so many chances, and they should probably be a little bit higher than what they are. So I'm going to go for Villa to win this match. I'm going to go for them -1 on the Asian handicap at -124. So if they win the match, we don't lose. So as long as they win the match, we don't lose any money. And if they do, like every team has done already this season, score at least 2 against Everton, which, 10 goals conceded in 3 games, that would have cash. And Everton do not score more than them, obviously. But if they do score, which I think they'll all score 2 goals, we're going to win on this bet. So I'm going to go for Aston Villa. They've done it for me last week or last time when we were out on my 2-unit play. I'm sticking with Villa. Villa -1, -124. That is my 2-unit play this weekend. Don't worry about the Champions League, because they start off slowly. And we'll worry about Villa in a few weeks' time when their squad depth may be questionable and they've got some big ties to come. But I think Villa will keep that momentum going, their home record going, and Everton will be in for another tough afternoon.
Keeping the Villa chips firmly on the table, doubling up. Let's see if we can get the 2U in again. Just a lean from Jack in this one, Jack.
Yeah, I was sorely tempted to go with Villa, trying to get on the angle in. I couldn't quite pull the trigger on it, went elsewhere, but I do agree Villa win this one. My lean, actually, to get a real boost on the price is, again, win and both teams to score. It's +205. Everton, you'd say, aren't the most prolific, but they showed that they'd at least found a way to goal against Bournemouth last time out. And the thing that kind of alerted me to it as well is Villa's defensive record's not been great at home. They've conceded in each of their last 5 league games at Villa Park, and they only got 1 clean sheet in the last 12. So I think that there is a good chance that they'll cover that handicap, absolutely, but I think they will possibly concede in this one. So that's where my lean went. Couldn't quite pull the trigger.
We have still got Jack's hot dog to come, which comes up next. We've got a same-game parlay from Nigel as well on the North London derby, and we've got the Wolves-Newcastle game to round up as well. So stick with us on the show. Jack, Bournemouth-Chelsea. This is your hot dog here. Bournemouth +245. Chelsea are minus money favourites here, but we move away from the money line to a goal scorer play. And you've had some good success already this season on the hot dogs with goal scorers, and this might be, kiss of death, my best play of the weekend, Jack.
Oh dear, here we go. Right, yeah. Well, I did have success. That was with Semenyo, who obviously will be in this game, but I'm moving on quickly, and I've moved away from him as well. And I'm actually siding with a Chelsea player in this one. I'm going with Noni Madueke to score in this game. I think he's a very decent price, +265. So comes in nicely for the hot dog criteria. And I think there's goals in this game. And there's a very good chance that if there are, then he'll get amongst it. I was impressed with him when he came off the bench. A little cameo during the week for England. He looked confident. He got in some really good positions. Didn't quite work out for him. But we also know how prolific he was in his 1 away game so far this season. Chelsea went to Wolves and won 6-2. He scored a hat-trick in that one. I don't know if he'll be slagging off Bournemouth's beaches or whatever prior to the game, just to give him a little extra boost. I don't know. But we'll see. But yeah, Bournemouth only 2 clean sheets in their last 11 at home. So we know how they're going to play, and I think this will actually fit into Chelsea's hands a little bit here. Bournemouth aren't a side that make it tough, are hard to play against. They're not going to sit deep. They are an attacking side under Iraola. Showed that again, obviously, last week with the fact that Everton scored against them. They probably will score as well. It should be an entertaining watch, to be fair. But, I think, say, Chelsea will get on the score sheet. Medawaki's only played 2 games for them this season in the league. And he's had 9 shots across those 2 games. It was a similar thought process with Semenyo last week or last time out, saying that obviously these prolific attempts at goal will give you a chance of obviously getting on the score sheet. So there's only 4 players that have had more attempts at him per game, given that he's only played 2. So really tricky. I think Chelsea got that fantastic forward line. They've probably got the best stable of forwards in the Premier League. It's just finding the right mix to go with it. But he looks very much at home. He looks like a player that Maresca is very fond of. And he's obviously got the best out of him so far this season. So, in a game which looks full of goals, I'm siding with a Chelsea player. And it was interesting to see there's quite a lot of Chelsea players ahead of him in the market. Yes, of course, the likes of Palmer, but the likes of Nkunku, João Felix as well. And I just feel that he's been a little bit undervalued in the fact of the positions he gets in and the chances that he's taken this season so far. So he is my hot dog.
Plus 265 to score at any time. Yeah, apparently he was Chelsea's best player pre-season. His cameo for England I thought was pretty good. Nigel, any leans in this one? Bournemouth, Chelsea?
Market is in and out of love with Chelsea, isn't it? One week they love them, one week they want to get against them. I don't think we really know yet where we can judge Chelsea. I always think Bournemouth are a little bit underrated. I think they're probably one of the most underrated teams in the Premier League, particularly at home, because they're not fashionable. So I was trying to get with Bournemouth in some capacity. International week, Chelsea had 137 players out last week on international duty, so that's going to be very hard for them. Bournemouth have had an unbeaten start to the season. My lean would be Bournemouth on the draw on the double chance market at minus 125. I'm not convinced by this Chelsea side yet. They don't know their best team, and I think there's a lot of work in progress there.
Biggest game of the weekend is, of course, Tottenham against Arsenal. It's the North London derby. It's 9 a.m. Eastern on Sunday, slightly earlier kickoff than usual. Spurs are plus 195, Arsenal plus 138, draw plus 240. I mean, Nigel, if Rice and Ødegaard are fit or free from bans, Rice, of course, suspended, Ødegaard injured, are Arsenal nearer even money? Are they even minus money to win at Spurs? Do those 2 players make such a difference for the money line, do you think?
I think Ødegaard does. I'm not quite sure Rice does. I mean, I think Partey could play in that position and they could change it around a little bit. They've got to change their tactics. Havertz might come a little bit deeper. But they've got a big enough squad. But I think Ødegaard does make a difference. I mean, really, it's a great opportunity for Tottenham here, isn't it? I mean, everything you look at this match, you want to look at the price and think, can we really bet Arsenal? It's a huge match for Arsenal so early in the season. I mean, it's massive. I mean, dropping those points last week and the way that Manchester City are on this roll and Liverpool are looking ominous as well. That this is, if they lose this, they could quite easily be third favourites to win the Premier League title. Liverpool could overtake them, and this was the year that everyone said that Arsenal were going to win it. So it's a big match, a really big match, and obviously it's the fixture calendar hasn't been kind to them because they've got to play. They've got Atalanta on Thursday, and then they've got Manchester City. So it's like it's a real tough run for Arsenal. They could be out of the title race before it's even begun. They really could. If they lose this and then lose to Man City, it's a big ask for them to get them points back. So I think this is a huge match for both teams as well. And I think you're looking at this game, and I think everything that on the overs is a bet. Over cards, over goals, over corners. I think it could be a typical sort of North London derby that we've seen throughout the years. I don't think it's going to be quite a cagey and a nervy affair because I think both sides have to really go out and win this match. So my same game parlay is being a little bit conservative really, because I could have thrown some more legs in it, but Bet Rivers don't offer some of the markets I wanted to throw in. So I was going to throw in the over the bookings. I wanted to put a penalty in this match because this match has such a high number of penalties in the match. So my same game parlay is on that theme. But if you want to boost out with other ones, or play the others as singles with Bet Rivers. So my same game parlay is over 2.5 goals, both teams to score, over 10.5 corners, and Son to score any time. Now you would think, well, Arsenal got this best defence, but when they play Tottenham, the defensive record goes out of the window. And Son has had 19 goal involvements in 17 fixtures against Arsenal, so he is the main man. There will be no Solanke again. I don't think so. While I'm reading, he's not going to participate again. So Son will be the main strike threat. He'll be on penalties. But I do think this go through history. Both teams have scored than any other fixture in the Premier League. Over 2.5 goals as Cashmore than any other game in the Premier League. It'll be end to end because the draw's no good for either side. Or a loss is no good for either side, even this early season. And over 10.5 corners. That's the kind of game I see. So totally against everything that I usually do, but I do think this match is a fixture in the Premier League that if you've got to go overs. So that's my same game parlay. It pays 7-1 with Bet Rivers. Over 2.5. Both teams to score, yes. Over 10.5 corners. Son to score anytime. 7-1.
I think Nigel's framed this right, Jack, because Spurs will see it, as Nigel's just said, as a massive opportunity. And also, like, well, if we lose this off the back of a Brighton draw and both City and Liverpool win the previous day, it's a game that they have to approach on the front foot. I mean, Mikel Arteta would do that anyway, but every angle in here suggests blood and thunder. It's a derby and so on. I like your lean as well here, Jack, but just give us your thoughts on the game as well as your play.
Yeah, I agree with everything Nigel said there on it. This is a massive one for Spurs to... You'd assume this is their best chance of beating Arsenal over the last few years, given those midfield issues. And I think the fact that Arsenal are likely to bring Havertz back will definitely weaken them in those forward areas at the top of the pitch where he's become quite pivotal for them. And Odegaard as far as his leadership on the pitch and also his creativity as well. And the next probably best leader as far as they've got is Rice, who will be missing. And he does link that play from defence into midfield and attack also. So if Tottenham can win this midfield battle, which they've got a good chance of doing, then I think they've got a great chance of winning it. The money has come from them after the news about Odegaard definitely being out. So it kind of was on the radar, but wasn't quite one to play. But it's certainly one that screams goals. It has done over the years. I can't see that changing here with the way Ange Postecoglou plays, with the way that Mikel Arteta goes. There'll be an incredible atmosphere in it as well. But yeah, Spurs very good at home. They won 4-0 against Everton in their only home game so far. We saw them. They should have battered Leicester as well. They were unlucky against Newcastle, so they're probably pitching under a little bit as far as their points are concerned. But at home, their last 13 Premier League games at home, they won 10 of them. So it's a very, very strong record at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And as far as Arsenal are concerned, I think they've been a little bit flattered so far this season, because you've got to bear in mind the 2 wins they picked up, as we've mentioned before. Their goalkeeper picked up man of the match in both those games. So they are conceding plenty of chances. So, yeah, my pick in this, or my lean in this, is for over 1.5 first half goals. I think they'll come out roaring into this to try and set the tone, get the lead. Both these sides will as well. So they'll both come to the party. And this bet has landed in each of the last 10 Premier League fixtures across both venues between these two sides.
Over 1.5 first half goals at plus 123. Just a couple of stats before we move on to the final game of the show. Of all the grounds in Premier League history, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium has seen the lowest percentage of draws, just 9%, 9 in 101 games. And there's never been a 0-0.
Ever.
Never
in
been
history,
a 0-0.
History.
Incredible.
That is
13-1. If you're plus 1,300, if you think there's going to be a 0-0. And yeah, Nigel spot on with the penalties as well. 26 awarded in this fixture, more than any other in Premier League history. Plus 175 for a penalty to be given in North London. Final game, just a couple of leans here before we wrap things up for you. Wolves against Newcastle. Wolves plus 230, Newcastle plus 108. Jack, you've gone for Alexander Isak previously on the show, and he hasn't scored. And then when you didn't go for him, he did score.
Yeah, Wolves fans be delighted.
I think this will be the most popular lean. I think this will be the most popular lean of the season. This is.
It could be.
I think if you counted up the leans of the season, Isak any time is you're going to be your go-to man.
Isak and Solanke.
Yeah, they're
get it wrong every week.
Yeah, every time we call it, we get it wrong, and every time we don't, he scores.
Yeah, it's the one in it. It's not a Premier League show without Isak being involved. So this is a tough one to call. I don't quite know what to expect from both these sides. So what I have gone for is Isak. I think at plus 130 is a decent enough price for him. What I've looked at is that he scored in both his appearances against Wolves so far. Also in this fixture last season, which ended 2-2, he wasn't playing. Callum Wilson was in, and he scored both goals for Newcastle that day. So it seems there might be a little bit of a central striker situation here that we can get on the back of. And he also scored 3 goals across his 2 international appearances in the last couple of weeks as well. So he has coming in with good form. He did score in that last game as well that we talked about, that we weren't riding him. So hopefully we can cop it this time round. So yeah, Isak is a lean for me here in a game which is could be anything really.
Plus 130, Isak to score. Nigel, double lean with Isak?
No, this was going to be my hot dog actually this week. I worry for Wolves this season. I said it a lot, and I've got some stick on YouTube by a Wolves fan who's having a go at me. But I think they're weaker than they were last year. They're still awaiting their first win of the season, but we can't trust Newcastle on the road. At home, Newcastle are fantastic. On the road, I wouldn't trust them at all, these kind of prices. If you look at Newcastle's record this season, on the road, both matches have been draws. Bournemouth in the Premier League 1-1, Nottingham Forest in the League Cup 1-1. In this fixture, 6 times they've played each other since Wolves returned to the Premier League. 5 draws in this fixture and 1 win for Wolves. No win for Newcastle. So Newcastle's road worries to continue. I think the draw here at plus 275 is a big price. It should, usually on a draw price should be around about plus 230. Back in the old days, it was plus 215, 220, and that's why I think plus 275 is a wrong price here, because the market wants to get with Newcastle, the betting public wants to get with Newcastle, but I don't think you can trust them on the road. And I think Wolves can improve, and I think they'll get a point here. Plus 275 the draw. Was going to be my hot dog, but it's a lean.
Yeah, I like that one. Good stats for Wolves against Newcastle and the tie draw. Nigel, Jack, thanks for your company. Good luck to one and all. We'll keep you updated, of course, via our X feeds. We've got the boys' P&L on screen for your perusal. Both are showing a profit after 3 match weeks of the Premier League. Long may that continue. That is a wrap for Betting Weekly Premier League show. We're going to be back next week for more picks, plays, hot dogs, same game parlays, and of course the live show 11 a.m. Eastern every midweek day. We've got Champions League football on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so watch out for the boys when it comes to the big games in midweek. Follow us at Because We Win on X. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is for free. You'll get plenty of content over the course of each and every week from all of us. For now, though, it's goodbye.